What's up, guys? It's your boy Me10. There's so much going on in football right now that I want to be able to cover it. I've never done this before, so it was going to be quite interesting to see how it goes. But there's about five main topics I want to talk about today. One is just a quick recap on the FA Cup, Arteta and Frank Lampard, and where I see Arsenal and Chelsea going next season. And also the Chelsea transfer window so far, Manchester City transfer window so far because they're making a lot of moves, and also a quick touch on Eddie Howe, and also what Manchester United is doing because they've been active in their transfer window in the last week or so. So yeah, let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing I did a three things we learned on the FA Cup, Chelsea versus Arsenal. And from that game, really, you can see both teams came out defensive. Both managers came out with their 3-5 or their 5-3, however way you look at those formations. And I kind of figured that both managers were going to come out that way. So going into the match, I actually picked Arsenal winning going into the match. And the reason I picked Arsenal winning going into the match was because I just felt like they wanted it more. You can tell that that team Arsenal wanted it more because they don't have European football because they finished eighth, and Chelsea came in top four, so they have European next season. So the only difference between those teams, even though you can technically say Chelsea is a little bit more talented right now, but like looking at a combined starting 11 of both teams, I think I did that on the live the other day. A combined starting 11 of the both teams, it's really hard to even say that Chelsea is more talented right now, because I think five or six Arsenal players get into the starting 11 of a combined starting 11 of both Arsenal and Chelsea. I would have to go through that again to see exactly who the players are. But so I think both teams are actually pretty even. I think the problem with Arsenal is like their glaring holes are really big. Um, Chelsea weak spot are not. They're weak. They're weak. It's gonna stop them from contending, but they're not super bad. Like Chelsea, we all know Chelsea's main problem is their goalkeeper and their center backs, and a lot of all their center backs have potential. Even Rudiger, he's been a Germany national team center back, and he's coming back from injury. So I won't be surprised if Rudiger returns to top form next season. But with Tomori, with Kurt Zuma, they're really good center backs. They just need more experience. But the problem right now is Chelsea don't have time for them to garner more experience because it looks like Chelsea is catching in and they're trying to win next season. Chelsea is going all out and they're trying to win next season. So they don't have time for Rudiger, Christensen, and Zumar and Tamari. They don't have time for those center backs to develop the experience they need. They need a strong leadership center back that's gonna calm the back line. It's gonna help them contend for the title next season. We know that they have no problem with their offense. They create enough, they score enough goals, but that defense they're gonna have to work something out. But we'll get more into that later. So back to the FA Cup final. So that was the reason I picked Arsenal because I felt like Arsenal was going to want it more, and I think that showed. I think that showed in the match. Even though Chelsea scored first with Christian Pulisic, you can tell Chelsea had a really good 10 minutes, first 10 minutes, but you can tell that Arsenal really wanted it more. And the main key, the biggest difference in that match was, and Chelsea did this against United also. Chelsea played that five back, three center backs, so 3-5, and they were pressing from the front. So like, which it's not a problem if you press from the front if your center backs is still a little bit deep. They don't have to be super deep if your center backs is still a little bit deep. But they were pressing from the front, and their center backs were playing a high line. I mean, that helps with the press. It gives no option, no room, no space for the other team to find a pass because everybody is right on top of their opposing player. But when you're playing against Aubameyang, when you're playing against Pepe, Lacazette to a smaller extent, if if they play that ball over the top, your center backs are going to be exposed. Now, Chelsea do have a lot of athletic center backs. Rudiger and Zuma, they're pretty quick, they're pretty fast. So that you don't have to necessarily worry about them getting beat in a one-on-one. But with Dave's, Cesar Azpilicueta, he was one that was playing right center back on that day. So he was going to be one-on-one with Aubameyang. So it's if they play that high, deep ball over the top, and Aubameyang and Aspilicueta is 1-on-1, you're gonna put your money on Aubameyang every single time, and I think that was the main difference. That's how Arsenal scored the first goal, 1-on-1. Uh, Aspilicueta was out of position. He wasn't ball side. He tried to get ball side, and then he fouled Aubameyang, and that's how they got the first penalty. So I think that was the main difference tactically, and also a lot of Chelsea injuries, and obviously Anthony Taylor had a terrible game as a referee. But I think even if Anthony Taylor didn't make all those mistakes, and even if Chelsea didn't have those injuries, I still think Arsenal would have won that match. Even if it went to PK, I still feel like Arsenal would have won that match. So so Arsenal won the FA Cup, and it's been interesting on social media, especially on Twitter. There's been a lot of fan conversation about Arsenal having a better season than Manchester United, having a better season than Chelsea. So it will be interesting to see what you guys think. Would you rather finish eighth? Let's not even say eighth. Would you rather finish outside the top four and win the FA Cup, or finish inside the top four and not win a trophy? Okay, so that's kind of the way you have to look at it. I don't think Arsenal fans are looking at it that way. They're just looking at it. Oh, we won a trophy. We won a trophy. I don't know how much the payout for the FA Cup is. I doubt it's as much as you're gonna get for making the Champions League. Let me look that up real quick. But I doubt it's going to be as much as making the Champions League. So to these clubs, while winning the trophies well and dandy, I'm pretty sure to the board, I'm pretty sure to Stan Kroenke, he'd rather be in the Champions League because the payout is going to be a lot more. So I'm looking up the FA Cup prize money. The FA Cup prize money is, so you get, so first round you get 36,000, second round 54. I think that's pounds. So then 135, 180. So for winning it, you get almost 2 million, $2 million. I think it's 1.8 million pounds. So almost $2 million. The Champions League is a $75 million competition. Like just making it to the, I think the round of 16 alone, your team is gonna earn 75 mil. So 2 million, 75 mil. There's no debate. So coming in eighth place and winning the FA Cup, even though that does qualify you for Europe, I think that qualifies them for the Europa League if I'm correct. But the Europa League prize money is not the same as the Champions League. So I'm gonna need for all the Arsenal fans to pipe down about saying they have a better season than Manchester United and Chelsea, because I still think the FA Cup is important, and I believe that trophies are important, but it's just not on the same level as even qualifying for the Champions League. Not even winning the Champions League. It's just not on the same level as qualifying for the Champions League. So I'm gonna need for Arsenal fans to do better. But that brings it to Mikel Arteta and Frank Lampard. Like I've kind of been going back and forth as far as who I think is the better manager or who I think is gonna have the better career. And the thing with Mikel Arteta is that he gets that positive stigma of being a apprenticeship for Pep. And what I mean about that positive stigma is now people are looking at him like he's a major tactician. Like you know how we look at Pep, like a great thinker, very focused on the detail. And a lot of press has come out that Arteta is like that. So he gets that positive stigma from that, which is a really good move. And even Pep has said that he's probably learned more from Arteta than Arteta had learned from him. So in that sense, if Arteta can emulate, let's say 60%, 70% of Pep's success, or even the way that Pep plays, I think Arsenal are in good hands. But I think Frank has been, I don't want to use the word tactician. I think Frank has been underrated a little bit as far as like the way his team play, at least offensively. Chelsea plays a good brand of football. They play a good attacking brand of football. It's a very the football that Chelsea plays is very fun to watch. Like it brings pleasures to the eye. It's not dull. It's not, So I like watching Chelsea play under Frank Lampard. So I think I think Frank is underrated in that aspect, at least compared to Pep or Teta, as far as somebody that knows how to instill tactical progression for his team to be able to play a very beautiful, a very complementary style of football. So I think Frank is underrated in that aspect. Um, so it will be interesting to see how Chelsea does when they finally sign, when they get a better, when they sort out their defense. It'll be interesting to see how they do and how that team plays together from back to front. Even when they sign a different goalkeeper. Um, so it'll be interesting to see. So I think it's kind of too early to judge who the better manager is. And Frank has a little bit more experience. Frank has done it in the championship. So I think it's a little bit too early to judge. But I guess if I had to choose a manager for Manchester United, and it wasn't Ole, if I had to choose a manager between Frank and Arteta, I think I would go with Arteta. I think I would. Because and the reason why I'm going Arteta is I feel like he has that pragmatism to him. Like the problem with Pep is like he wants to play one way, even though he can play a bunch of different formation, but he only really has like one way of playing football. He doesn't have that pragmatism to him to where he can be like, okay, I'm playing a better team today. I'm gonna be a little bit more defensive. I'm gonna hold something back just to make sure that I don't get it hit on the counter and stuff like that. But you can see that with Mikel. Like as soon as you realize that Chelsea defense, it's not good enough to play the type of football that he eventually wants to play in the future. Mikel went ahead and changed the formation. He's playing with three center backs, or it's actually two center backs, and Alex Tierney. So like I feel like that pragmatism that Mikel Arteta has is what's gonna really help him do well for Arsenal. Because honestly, winning the Premier League, it's hard, but it's all about consistency. And even though the top before it was a top four, now we have a top six. Really, we have a top eight now. Uh, so really, if you beat the other 12 teams, and you just make sure you don't lose against the top eight, you're going to be fine. You should be able to even make the top four as far as points go. So if managers, that's why Jose did so well in the Premier League, because he knew that all I have to do is get a draw against the top four teams and I'll beat everybody else. And that's what he did. And he's won the Premier League 3 times. So, and I still think that applies. I still think that method of thinking can still apply. If you make sure that you don't lose against the big side, but you make sure you beat the smaller side, you're going to be fine. Um, so, like I said, I I think I will go with Arteta just because I know that he has that pragmatism to him, and I think Frank is getting that too. It took Frank a little while, but I think he's learned that also because even at the beginning of the season, Chelsea defense has always been a problem. Even I mean Manchester United beat them the first game 4-0. We already knew what their weaknesses are, but it took Frank until like maybe a little bit before the restart, before he actually was like, okay, I can't rely on these center backs. I need to convert to a five back. Like he just started playing that five backs a couple months ago. So it took him a little while. But Mikel Arteta right out the gate was like, okay, I can't trust David Luiz 1-on-1. I can't trust David Luiz. I need cover for him. I need David Luiz to be able to do what he does best, which is be an offensive center back. We should be able to distribute from the back. So in order for him to be able to do that, I need to give him people that are going to cover his weaknesses. So I think Mikel Arteta did that a lot quicker than Frank did. So that's why I would go with Mikel. And honestly, I would go with Mikel over Ole. I like Ole. I think he's our manager for the near future. I think he's the manager that's going to take us back to where we need to be. I'm not sure, and I think a lot of other Manchester United fans feels like this. I've never been on the Ole out brigade because it's not time there. I think we really needed Ole because he was the only manager in the world that truly understands what the United culture is about, what the club is about, how we want to play, how we want to build our team, how we want our club to be, what type of players we want. So I think he was the right choice for that. Um, so I think Ole should finish out his contract and we shall see. But I'll talk more about United at the end there. So the problem with Arsenal right now is Aubameyang. even before they start looking at the midfield, even before they start thinking about upgrading their defense, Arsenal problem right now is Aubameyang. Um, and you can't really fault Aubameyang for wanting to leave. I don't think Aubameyang hates Arsenal. I don't think he has a problem with Arteta. I don't think he has a problem with anybody in the club. It's just it's he's 31, 32. He has about 2, maybe 2, 3 years left at the absolute prime that he's in right now, because he is in his prime. He has about 2 or 3 years left in that prime. I don't know what major trophy Aubameyang has won. He was at Milan, and then he was at Saint Etienne in France, and then from there he went to Dortmund. And when he was at Dortmund, they didn't win the league because Bayern has won the league for the last 8 seasons. I think they won maybe some DFL Pokal, or maybe he won another domestic cup, but he hasn't won the league. And I'm trying to see if he's won the league anywhere. He hasn't won the league. He hasn't won that many trophies. I haven't looked it up to see how many trophies he's won, but he hasn't won that many trophies. So you can't really fault Aubameyang for saying, "I need to win now. Like, I need to go to a bigger club that is more in a position of winning. I need to win now." So Arteta, for Arteta to convince him to stay. I think if Arteta is able to convince Aubameyang to stay, I think he should get a lot of credit, because he would have to sell Arteta. He would have to sell Aubameyang on the vision that he has for the club, to where he's like, "Hey, give us one more season. By next season, we'll be back in the top four. By the season after that, we'll start contending for the league. We'll start going deeper into the Champions League." So it will be interesting to see if Aubameyang stays. I think one thing that Arsenal has on their side is this whole COVID stuff. Because of COVID, a lot of clubs are not really spending, or a lot of clubs don't have money to spend like that. So I don't even think Aubameyang has a market like that. Because let's say Aubameyang wants to go to a team that is contending and a team that can win. How many teams like that have an open slot for a left winger or a striker that they're willing to offer to a 31, 32-year-old? Okay? So in the Premier League, you got Liverpool. Liverpool doesn't have a spot open. The way Liverpool, I guess, I don't know. If you were a Liverpool fan, would you take Aubameyang over Firmino as a central forward? That would be something I have to think about. Because a Liverpool fan tells us all the time, even though Firmino doesn't score that many goals, he's so integral to that offense that they make it sound like nobody can replace him. So would you take Aubameyang over? Would you take Aubameyang over Firmino? At Man City, yes. And I haven't heard any links. I haven't heard anything about Man City bidding for Aubameyang or Man City talking to Aubameyang. You would think that the clear cut place for Aubameyang to go would be to Man City, because Aguero is getting up there. He's getting a lot of injury problems, and I don't think they trust Gabriel Jesus, sorry, to be that main guy. It doesn't look like Pep trusts him to be that main guy. Because even with Aguero out, Pep still sometimes plays with Bernardo Silva as a center forward, Sterling as a center forward. So I think Manchester City would be a good option in the Prem if Aubameyang wants to stay. Manchester United, I don't think Ole wants. I think Ole really likes Anthony Martial, and he's not gonna replace him with anybody really. So I don't think Manchester United is an option for him. Spurs is obviously not an option. Leicester City is not an option, and you wouldn't go there anyway because they can't afford his wages that he wants. So that is all the teams that are in England that is an option for Aubameyang. So going outside of England, Juve could afford his wages, but Juve just signed Milik. Inter Milan just signed Lukaku. AC Milan, he could go back to AC Milan. I think Zlatan contract is over. AC Milan, but AC Milan is not in a contending spot right now. Napoli can't afford his wages. and Napoli just signed Victor Osimhen from Lille. So that leaves there's no team in Italy. So let's go. If we go to La Liga, Real Madrid has Karim Benzema, unless he's playing left winger for Real Madrid. But then you have Hazard, you have Vinicius Junior, you have Rodrigo. So I don't think Real Madrid will go in for Aubameyang. It could go to Barcelona. Barcelona, you would think it would be the easy option because it doesn't look like Barcelona trusts, or at least Kike Setien trusts Fati that much because he's not playing him that much. So you would think if he plays left forward, because Barcelona's front three is they're more like forwards, at least when they're playing the right system. If he plays left forward, you have Suarez or Griezmann playing center forward, and then you have Messi playing right forward or right wing. So I think Barcelona is like the only option, or is the best option for him apart from Man City. So Barcelona can afford his wages, but it looks like I don't know. The report came out yesterday that they're not looking to bring Neymar back, which I think is a lie. That is maybe they're saying that they're not thinking about bringing him back this season, but I think they definitely want Neymar back. I don't think they want to spend the money on Neymar. I think they want him back on a free, or when his contract is down to 1 year, so they can get him a lot cheaper. But I think Neymar possibly coming back to Barcelona is the reason why they wouldn't go after Aubameyang. Um, so, so I just said all of that to say that that's not a market for Aubameyang. He can't go. He doesn't want to go back to Dortmund. He's definitely not going to go back to Dortmund. He doesn't like to board at Dortmund. They have a big problem. And Lewandowski is a center forward at Bayern Munich. So there's not a market for Aubameyang. I wouldn't be surprised if Aubameyang signs maybe a short deal, maybe a 2 year, 3 year deal at Arsenal, to where maybe he sits down with Arteta and Arteta is like, hey, there's not a big market out there for you. We can give you the wages that you want. Sign a 2 year, 3 year deal. Let me show you. Sign a 2 year deal with an option for you to extend it. Let me show you that I can get this club back to where it needs to be or where this club belongs, and then you can decide. So I think Aubameyang staying is about a 70%, 75%, 80% chance at Arsenal. And it seems like Arteta is very convinced that he's going to stay also, because Arteta has always came out and said that he believes he's going to stay. And I think it's more to do with, one, he doesn't have a market for him, and two, um, there's not a lot of clubs out there that can pay his wages, and Arsenal can. And so Arsenal is taking, I don't want to use gamble, because I feel like Aubameyang is more of a sure thing than Ozil was. Because even before Arsenal gave Ozil his contract, he still wasn't. You can see that he was declining a little bit. So now they're giving him £300 a week or 300 mil a week, and I mean $300,000 a week, and he's not performing. He's barely in the club. So if Arsenal can move Ozil this transfer window, I think they'll easily be able to give Aubameyang whatever contract he wants. So that would be something to keep an eye on. Um, and as far as Arsenal, I think winning the FA Cup is going to help them attract. Winning the FA Cup and being in Europe is going to help them attract better players. It's just that what better players are out there that they need. And their main massive hole is that midfield, and I can't even say the defense, because it looks like they're gonna trust in Saliba. Saliba, I think it looks like they have a lot of faith in him that he can be that starting center back that they need. So I think if they can sign Thomas Partey, they'll be fine. They can start challenging for the top six again. They can maybe even challenge for the top four. So that it will be interesting to see if they're able to get Thomas Partey. They've been bidding. I think they bidded 25 mil plus Guendouzi for him, and Atletico Madrid turned it down. I don't think Atletico Madrid necessarily want Guendouzi, or I think they just want the full price for Partey if they're gonna sell him. And I think his release clause was at 50 mil. I don't know if he signed a new contract with Atletico to change his release clause, but his release clause is at 50 mil. And it's going to be very dumb if Arsenal just doesn't go ahead and bid the release clause. They did the same thing with Luis Suarez back in the day. I think Luis Suarez release clause was like 40 mil, and they bid like 40 mil and like 1 pound or something like that, and Liverpool just kind of laughed in their face. So I think Atletico is kind of doing the same thing right now. Like if you want Thomas Partey, you gotta go for his full release clause. So we'll see if Arsenal gets that done. So we can go ahead and move on to Chelsea because Chelsea's been doing a lot of early work, and Chelsea is one of the teams that is in a great financial position because of the transfer ban and all the players that they're selling. So they've sold a lot of players recently. Um, Hazard, of course. So they have a lot of money. So they're in a good position. They probably have like over 200 mil to spend. They're still going for Havertz, and they still need to sign a center back. So it will be interesting to see. And I think with Chelsea, their center back, they're looking at Jose Jimenez. And I don't know what his release clause from Atletico Madrid is. It looks like it's something that's pretty astronomical. So they're looking at Jose Jimenez right now. But I think they should start looking at Koulibaly again. Koulibaly has said that he wants to stay at Napoli. But I feel like if the money is right, he'll leave. Or Napoli will sell and he will leave. It's just kind of hard spending 100 mil, 80 mil on a center back in this climate. And he's 29, 30. So that's kind of what made Koulibaly transfer so hard. So it'll be interesting to see if Chelsea can get Jimenez, if they can get Kai Havertz, and if they can get. I think they're looking at Onana as their goalkeeper replacement, and they also have to sign a left back. So they have a lot of stuff a lot of deals that they're trying to make. It'll be interesting to see if they can pull everything off. I honestly think they might have to win on the goalkeeper. I don't think. Do you want to say trust? I think they're actually looking at Nick Pope now from Burnley. I don't know how much are willing to sell him for. You would think that nothing less than 40 mil. Pope just basically just won the Golden Boot. He was second in the Golden Boot, and he only lost it out on the last day. So to sign a Golden Boot England national from the Premier League, there's going to be a premium attached to it. So you're gonna spend at least 40 mil. I won't be surprised if Burnley even asks for 50. I would. If you're gonna sign K-pop for 70 mil, I'm asking for 50 for Nick Pope, because Nick Pope is already adapted to the Premier League. He's already proven in the Premier League. So how are they gonna spend 50 mil on Pope, spend 80 mil on Havertz, spend Jimenez is gonna cost at least 60. Jimenez or Koulibaly is gonna cost at least 60. So they're looking at over almost 200 mil, and they still want to sign a left back. Ben Chilwell is gonna cost 60 mil. Tagliafico, Alex Telles, they're gonna cost at least 30 to 40 mil. So that's over $200 million or 200 million pounds that they're gonna have to spend to fully complete their side now. So even though they have the money, I don't see them making all these deals in the next, because the Premier League starts back in like 2 months, or actually no, not even 2 months. It's like a month and some change. So to make 4 deals in that time with all that money, it's gonna be hard for them to do. That's why I don't think Chelsea's gonna challenge for the title next, or that's why I don't see them winning the title next season. I wouldn't be surprised if they challenge, but winning it, I don't see that happening next season. So that's why I'm not super afraid of Chelsea as a Manchester United fan. I don't see them winning it next season either. But moving on to Man City, because Man City, as soon as the season was over, they started on their deals. They're about to sign 2 players. Their replacement for Sane, Torres from Valencia, and their center back. They're about to sign Nathan Ake. So the Torres one was pretty straightforward. That was pretty straightforward, and they got a pretty good deal for him. Or maybe we're saying a pretty good deal because of COVID. Maybe if there wasn't COVID, maybe it would go for 20 mil more. So that was pretty straightforward, and I think playing under Pep and the way that Pep plays, Torres is gonna have a lot of space, so he's gonna have a chance to develop and become a better player. So I think that's a pretty good deal. Now the Nathan Ake deal is what kind of surprises me, because Man City already has a starting left-footed center back. They have Laporte, and Nathan Ake is a left-footed center back. So what I'm actually thinking is that they're not even signing Ake to be a starting center back. I think they're buying him to be a rotational piece. I think they trust that. I think they believe that Laporte is going to continue to be injury risk. So they're signing Ake to be a rotation piece, and I think this. I still think that they're going for another right-footed center back. I'm not sure about that. I know that Man City and Napoli have a lot of like beef because of the Jorginho deal that was supposed to happen, but it didn't happen. So they have a lot of beef. But I still think they're looking at Koulibaly and trying to see if they can make that work. But if they can sign Koulibaly and Nathan Ake, then they're set. Otamendi will probably leave. John Stones is probably going to leave. So that will be their three main center back, with Eric Garcia being their fourth choice center back, which is a pretty good four center back duo. So it'll be interesting to see if they can pull that off. But they don't really have any more glaring spot in their team. Maybe they go for a left back, but they could bring Angelino back. Angelino's been very impressive for Leisberg. They could bring Angelino back. Still has quality. Zinchenko can fill in. So maybe they look at Aguero and say, okay, Aguero, can we trust Gabriel Jesus? If we can't, we need to sign a center forward. So I think those are the only two options that they're looking at. Fernandinho is coming back, and if they sign a center back, they can rely on Fernandinho and Rodri to play that CDM position. It looks like they're going to trust Phil Foden, so they're not really looking at any attacking midfielders now. So I think Man City is going to be fine, but I don't think Nathan Ake is enough, because I've never seen Nathan Ake play right-sided center back. I don't know how good he is with his right foot. I'm pretty sure he could do it, but it just throws off their balance if they playing Laporte and Ake together. So that would be interesting to see what they do there. So we just covered. I just covered Liverpool, Chelsea, Man City. So the only other Big Four team is Manchester United, and this whole COVID thing kind of forced United or Woodward to be a little bit more quick in their negotiation and their transfer dealings, because we only have a month before the season starts. So if you're looking to sign any major players, you need to get it done before preseason. So news came out yesterday that United and Dortmund are working on a deal that would give that United would pay about 70 million now, and pay the rest of the 120 million over the next 2 or 3 years. So it looks like Sancho deal could be finished by this Friday. And also, we sold Sanchez. So we cleared space. We sold Sanchez to Inter Milan. We didn't get any money for him, but I think they just wanted to get him off the wage books. And the number 7 shirt is not free for. The number 7 shirt is not free for Jadon Sancho when he comes. So now we're looking at the Chris Smalling situation. I haven't heard any news about Lingard and Phil Jones, but I think both of those players need to move. Maybe because the window is so small, we might not be able to offload both of them. Mata is probably going to leave, but we haven't heard any news about that. Maybe because United is still in season because of the Europa League, so it's kind of hard to make deals on players that are still playing. But with players that are not in the squad, the players that are not at the club, it's a little bit easier. So we should be hearing something about Chris Smalling soon. And then maybe when the Europa League campaign is over, we'll be able to hear about Mata, Lingard, and Jones. But Phil Jones really needs to leave. And it's not because I think he's a bad player. I think he's a really quality player. I think Phil Jones is going to be the same thing as Johnny Evans. Like, Johnny Evans was a top 4 center back in the Premier League this season. And I think Jones even has more quality than Johnny Evans. He's just as good on the ball as Johnny Evans. He's as good as a natural defender as Johnny Evans. He has more pace than Johnny Evans. He's more physical. He's stronger. I mean, he's more fragile, which has been the problem. But even at United, Johnny Evans was getting injured a lot. So I think once they're away from United, and that pressure is not there, I think Phil Jones would be more than fine. And I kind of want to see him revive his career. I think he's only 29, 30. I think he still has a chance of making England. I think he can still play for England, honestly, because England doesn't have a lot of great center backs. Like they have Harry Maguire, John Stones who kind of fell off. Nathan Ake. Nathan Ake is not even English. I'm sorry. Um, um, Philip Billen. What are the center backs that they have? They don't have a lot of great center back depth. So I think Phil Jones, if he gets a solid season like Johnny Evans had this season, I think he could be back in contention for that England spot. So it'll be. I would like for Johnny Phil Jones to move on. And the last topic I want to cover is Eddie Howe, the former Bournemouth manager. It's just kind of interesting looking at that story. I just kind of want to get people gauge on how they feel, like what is his reputation now, because he had a great reputation a couple years back. He took Bournemouth all the way from League Two, all the way to the Premier League, kept them in the Premier League for 5 years, but in the last couple of years, Bournemouth has been struggling, and it's not like they've been struggling because they're one of these Premier League teams that don't have any funds. Like they spend a lot of money. They spent a lot of money in the last 3 or 4 seasons, and they have about 5, 6, 7 quality Premier League players, if not more. So who do you blame that a team with that much quality is getting relegated? Because Nathan Ake, Junior Stanislas, Josh King, Callum Wilson, Jefferson Lerma. That's about 6, 7 players right there. They're starting quality Premier League players. So if you have about 7 or 8 starting quality Premier League players, why are you getting relegated if you're a top-rated manager? Eddie Howe was supposed to be was seen as a replacement for Arsene Wenger at Arsenal at some point when Wenger was about to retire. So how do you go from being up there to where you're getting relegated? And now there's not even that many jobs open in the Premier League. There's not a lot of jobs open in the Premier League. The only job that are possibly open is the Crystal Palace job with Roy Hodgson and the Newcastle job with Steve Bruce. And I wouldn't take Eddie Howe over 2 managers that kept me up in the Premier League versus a manager that got his side relegated with the same amount of financial strength to work with. So it'll be interesting to see what you guys think about Eddie Howe's reputation and where he goes from here, and to see if he can still, return back to the top league as a top-rated manager like he was. And he's still pretty young. I don't even think I think he's in his early 40s. So he's still pretty young. He still has a lot of times, but I think he's gonna have to go back to the Championship and do the same thing again. I don't think any club in the Premier League is gonna give him a chance anytime soon, unless he goes abroad. Maybe he goes to France, or maybe he goes to Germany, or another country like that. So that's pretty much all I wanted to cover. I don't think there's any other main news. Let me look to see if there's any other news. I don't think there's any other news coming out. But I'd like to do at least a podcast like this where I cover all the main news at least once a week, if not twice a week. But this was actually a lot easier than I thought it would be. I hope everything works out as far as like the recording and everything. But this was a lot easier than I thought it would be. It's a lot. I didn't think it was gonna be. I thought it was gonna be a lot harder, just it being me and being able to just talk. But it was actually pretty simple. So I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I will see you guys next time. Peace.